Hello, I'm Declan Harvey. The headlines in Northern Ireland. After the Soldier F verdict, Bloody Sunday families say veterans should now be prosecuted for perjury.
The judge said that the soldiers had perjured themselves, so we would hope now the PPS would charge them with perjury.
As some Bloody Sunday families and their supporters gather here in the Bogside for a vigil, what now for the future of legacy prosecutions against former soldiers?
The Agriculture Minister has apologised to farmers for policy that encouraged intensification. I'm live on the shores of Lough Neagh as we finish our focus on the algal crisis.
The candidates have been casting their votes in the Irish presidential election. Also on the programme, we've been meeting the children celebrating the magic of the written word during Book Week NI.
One of the main characters dies, and Harry Potter gets turned on by the wizarding world. It's honestly a really adventurous. It's all about her, so that's why I like it.
It's a big night of women's international football with both Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland in Nations League action. We'll have all the latest.
And it will be chilly at times this weekend, so you'll need to wrap up warm if you're heading to any Halloween fireworks displays. I'll be back with the full weekend forecast.
Welcome to BBC Newsline. Some of the relatives of those killed on Bloody Sunday say their fight for justice will continue, and the issue they are now focused on is perjury by soldiers. Yesterday, a former paratrooper was found not guilty of 7 charges, including 2 of murder. He is the only soldier to ever be put on trial over the deaths of 13 innocent and unarmed people in Derry in 1972. Today, the Public Prosecution Service has confirmed it is looking again at a decision last year not to pursue 15 veterans for lying under oath. Let's go live to the Bogside now, and our political editor, Enda McClafferty, standing by for us. It seems that the fallout from yesterday's verdict is still taking shape, Enda.
That's right, Declan, because right now here in the Bogside, a vigil is taking place at Free Derry Corner. There are several hundred people have gathered there, some of them carrying black flags to show solidarity with the Bloody Sunday families, because, as you say, they are continuing their fight for justice, albeit now pursuing soldiers who they've accused of perjury. And of course we'll wait to see where that ultimately ends up. But as our Northwest correspondent Kieran Turish now reports, families are determined that somebody somewhere is going to be held accountable for what happened here on these streets some 53 years ago.
While the headlines today are dominated by the verdict in the Soldier F case, the question now is what happens next. Those who support the military believe there should be an end to such prosecutions, while the families insist their campaign will continue. One woman whose father was shot and wounded on Bloody Sunday believes soldiers should face prosecution if they told lies during the judicial process.
The judge said that the soldiers had perjured themselves, so we would hope now the PPS would charge them with perjury.
A family lawyer believes the case for the prosecution of soldiers for perjury is overwhelming due to statements they've already made.
The evidence is there. It cannot degenerate over time. It cannot devalue over time, and there is no excuse at all to further procrastinate in the issuing of a direction to prosecute this matter, and it has to happen now.
Some unionists insist that the Soldier F case amounted to a show trial. Others believe that members of the military have been singled out for special treatment.
Nothing can excuse the killing and the maiming of innocent people. But if you're going to prosecute people for actions against the innocents, then you have to look on both sides of the argument, on both sides of the debate.
One man who lost his father on Bloody Sunday says all legal avenues are being explored.
If people told lies during any of those 2 inquiries, they should be made amenable to the law.
The Public Prosecution Service says that last year it decided not to prosecute 16 people, 15 of whom were soldiers, over allegations that they provided false evidence to the Bloody Sunday inquiry. Those decisions are currently being reviewed. A senior PPS lawyer is involved in that process and had no connection with the original decisions. Kieran Turish, BBC Newsline, Derry.
Enda still with us. Enda, what do you think are the chances of former soldiers facing fresh charges for perjury?
Well, there's no doubt about it. The lawyers for the families are pretty bullish in terms of the chances that they think that somebody will ultimately be prosecuted for perjury. And you've got a real sense among some of these gathered in the vigil tonight that there is a determined to see this through. They too feel as if there's a pretty strong case to be made here. But others out there take a different view, and they feel that because the PPS has already examined the perjury issue involving 16 individuals, 15 of them soldiers, they would be very surprised if the PPS returns and reverses, in a sense, that particular decision. But we'll wait and see what the outcome is on that front.
And what about the wider implications, Enda, for future prosecutions against veterans?
Well, there's two things to say about that, Declan. Number one, of course, the verdict yesterday will energise the veterans' lobby, not least in Westminster, as they will quote the Soldier F case now in their efforts to try and amend the current legacy legislation going through Parliament, perhaps to try and give greater protection to soldiers going forward. The second thing to say, of course, is that case relied very much on statements which turned out to be unreliable. But where there's forensic evidence, for instance, in relation to cases, regardless of the passage of time, then there is that avenue for future prosecutions. That point was made last night by Sir Declan Morgan, of course, who's the Chief Commissioner in the legacy body here in Northern Ireland. His body is currently looking at 102 cases involving 180 or so deaths. The vast majority of those are looking for justice. They're looking for information about what happened to their loved ones. And this was the pretty stern message Sir Declan had last night for anybody that might block that pathway to finding the truth.
If it turns out that the state in any way or anyone else stands in our way, we will call it out for what it is, and we are not there to assist the government in terms of anything that it may want to achieve. We are there committed to the interests of victims, survivors and their families, and if that means taking on the government in appropriate ways, that's what we'll do.
So we'll watch with interest to see how that actually works in practice, because the new Legacy Commission is really expected to come into force by the end of next year.
And we can see that crowd gathering behind you there in the Bogside tonight. Thank you very much, Enda McClafferty. Just a few hundred metres from where Enda was speaking to us from there is the entrance to Glenfadda Park. That is where this photo was taken during the chaos of Bloody Sunday. And among this crowd taking cover was a young priest. He would go on to play a significant role in our peace process. Dennis Bradley co-authored the Eames Bradley report, which considered ways of dealing with legacy issues. He's since left the priesthood, but when I met him in Glenfadda Park, the memories of Bloody Sunday were still vivid, and we discussed what happens next. Well, we know for sure this is where Soldier F and the other soldiers he was with entered Glenfadda Park.
Well, every time I actually come back to this place, which is reasonably often, the memories definitely well up. But before I talk about memories, I just want to say I feel very sore for the two families. Because I know both families. And they've been very dignified. But I never fully agreed with going into court. Because there's a reason for that. I don't think that legacy can be dealt with by the criminal justice system. In some ways, it's very personal for me, because I was part of, a team of about 8 priests who happened to be on the ground on that particular day. My memory mostly is about standing at that wall.
This wall?
Those steps weren't there at the time.
But it was
that gable wall. Some people called me over, and I was at the very edge of this. If you come over here, you can just look over. And there were soldiers standing all over the place firing guns.
You cannot come to the Bogside but see signs of Bloody Sunday everywhere. I've got one final question for you, which is, no one denies that Bloody Sunday shaped this city, its character. What happens now?
The victims are many and they're diverse with many needs. And I think that we need to construct ways of actually incorporating the widest possible response to victims. But we also must remember this, and this is sometimes forgotten. Society also has a right in this. The society has the right to move on, to find new ways, to find new freedoms, to leave the past behind, to deal with it as responsibly and as gently and as kindly as possible, but also then to move on. Because if you cannot, you must let the dead die, and you must allow the new generations to be free of the hurts and the pains of the past. They will have their own pains and their own hurt and their own responsibility to deal with.
Dennis Bradley speaking to me in the Bogside. We move on. This evening, an apology to farmers from the Agriculture Minister. Andrew Muir, as you'll hear shortly, has accepted farming communities were only following official guidance in 2012 when they increased production, which in turn contributed to the problems we're now seeing in Lough Neagh. Andrew Muir, as I say, shortly. But all week, we've been taking a closer look at the loch and what was, or after what was, another summer, plagued by blue-green algae. Our Agriculture and Environment correspondent, Louise Cullen, is on the shores of the Loch Forest this evening. And Louise, it's time to talk about solutions.
Absolutely, Declan. We know there's a glut of nutrients in this loch from agriculture, wastewater and other sources, and that is basically the main cause. So there is no one solution or mitigation, as scientists would prefer to say. And this is a cross-cutting thing, not just in Stormont, but right across society. Millions are being spent testing technological innovations to monitor and manage the blooms, and other engineering solutions may play a role as well. But all that's going to take time, so that makes what can be done here and now all the more important. At the northeasternmost edge of the Lough Neagh catchment, nature-based solutions like peatland restoration are paying off.
The RSPB did a pilot project on our upper section of hill a number of years ago, and it has been quite successful, both from the point of view of water catchment and from the point of view of encouraging other wild birds to use it as a nesting area.
To the west of Lough Neagh, this field used to be boggy. Then Kenny Brown installed underground drains called swales and planted comfrey, a thirsty plant with deep roots. It absorbs the nutrient-rich water, stopping it reaching the river.
There's no wonderful technology here, so it's all very basic stuff, so it's quite easy for any farmer to do it, or any other potential polluter to look into and do something about.
It's working, and it's working really, really well, and I think
in South Armagh, Ian used comfrey swales as an alternative to spending money on a fossil fuel-powered pump to remove his farm's runoff.
The beauty about this is when you look at the field, it's as it was when we started, so there's zero land loss, and I know people are very precious about losing any farmable land, so for that reason it's been a really good project.
Nature-based solutions like these are growing in popularity for those who can do them on farm. Other solutions to monitor and manage blooms have entered a second testing phase, but some have questions.
One of the things that I think is missing from the overall kind of solution set at the moment are large catchment scale demonstration projects that would enable us to try some of these solutions out. And we don't manage an ecosystem, we manage human activities in and around the ecosystem. And if we manage those human activities so that the impact on the environment is benign, the ecology of the system will should, in principle, right itself.
It will require more than farmers and wastewater investment, though.
This is actually a societal thing for Northern Ireland. This is the people of Northern Ireland. We all drink water. We all go to the toilet. And both of those things are impacting that water source. So there is something about everyone taking their role and responsibility in helping to find a solution for Lough Neagh.
So earlier I spoke with the Agriculture Minister, Andrew Muir. He had a message for farmers this evening, but I began by asking why there still seems to be such little movement on the issue of fines for the worst polluters.
What I've done is that we're drafting new legislation to come forward. It's about increasing fines and penalties so that we can have a sufficient deterrent around this, and that's important we do that. And I'll be looking for the support from the Assembly in the time ahead.
We've got an election coming up next year as well, you know. You're going to get a law in for fining organisations, companies in time for that?
We'd like to think that people are concerned about the scenes we've seen in Lough Neagh, not just this year, but in previous years, and that's why they need to support me in relation to the range of actions that need to be taken. And I've been very clear that there is important and tough decisions need to be taken because we can't have this repeating itself decade after decade.
But really, you say that fines hasn't happened, but there's legislation coming through. You can't get that done, can you, in 5-6 months?
So we can, within the remainder of this Assembly, set Loughnane on a roadmap towards recovery, and there's a range of actions we must take around that. So in relation to, for example, sewage pollution, I'm looking to strengthen regulation and enforcement around that. Also in relation to agriculture, about supporting farmers in terms of different practices. I'm looking for the funding for that, so I've engaged with the Finance Minister and also the Irish Government in relation to that. Also in regards to climate change, I'm taking forward a climate action plan for Northern Ireland and also better environmental protection for Northern Ireland. These are a range of actions. I've been on record of my disappointment in terms of lack of support in recent months, but in recent weeks I've got a bit more hope in terms of my engagement with party leaders, in terms of the support that we need to have to turn this around.
We've heard from a lot of people in our farming communities this week as well, and we know that agriculture is said to be responsible for maybe around 50-60% of the problem in Loughnane. But you will accept that back in 2012, farmers were asked to step up. They were told to go for growth, and they got out loans and they built sheds and they bought more animals. They really went for it. And now they're being told to row back, to pull it back in again. Do our farmers deserve an apology from Stormont for what they were asked to do and for now the rules being changed on them?
They do. Governments came forward and incentivised a lot of the practices that we have today. But we can look to the past or we can look to the future.
Do you want to apologise to them?
Well, I think it's important that we all say that we have problems here. We can get into a blame game around it all, or we can focus on fixing it. And I'm committed to a just transition in farming. That's why I'm engaging with the Finance Minister and also the UK and Irish governments around the financial support we can give to ensure that farming has a prosperous and thriving future, but also in terms of dealing with those environmental challenges that we face.
But you could apologise to them as Minister.
I think that it's very important we all own up to the issue that government incentivised and encouraged this. And I think I would say, as Minister of Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs, we got things wrong in the past, and I apologise for that. I'm going to be open around that. But what I want to do is I want to work with people. I want to fix the situation that we're seeing around this. And that's what I'm committed to doing. This is a tough brief I have, but I'm committed to turning it around and taking the tough decisions.
Andrew Muir speaking to me earlier. Northern Ireland's health workers' unions have rejected a renewed pay offer from the Department of Health, saying they will go ahead and ballot for industrial action. The BBC understands that one of a number of options the Department of Health offered unions was a 2-year pay deal covering this year and next year. More negotiations are scheduled for early next week.
Overwhelmingly, people are not happy to accept it at all. But certainly what we're looking at, we're already going through our legal processes, and we would be getting ready to ballot for industrial action in the near future.
A former Sinn Féin press officer has been returned to prison after his licence was revoked for being in an online chat room without official permission. 44-year-old Michael McMonigal was sentenced to 18 months last November for child sex offences, including attempting to incite 2 children to engage in sexual activity. He was released in August, but after admitting this latest offence, he has been sent back to jail for a further 7 months. Now, polls are open in the Republic. In the Irish presidential election, let's cross straight to Dublin and speak to Kevin Sharkey. What do we know so far, if anything yet? Kevin, polls still open?
Yes, and the hope and expectation is that from around this time onwards tomorrow evening we'll be nudging closer to an official declaration. But as you say, voting has been continuing from 7 o'clock this morning and will continue for the next 3 hours until 10 o'clock. Now, this morning, one of the candidates, Heather Humphreys, cast her vote in the company of her granddaughter, but it'll be a few presidential elections yet before young Charlotte can vote. In the West, in Galway, Catherine Connolly arrived at the polling station on 2 wheels to cast her vote. And another interesting aspect of this election is that Jim Gavin, who withdrew from the campaign, his name remains on the ballot paper, so any votes cast for him will be counted and distributed if necessary. Now, Michael D. Higgins steps down next month. We should hope to know from Dublin Castle tomorrow evening who the successor will be. And 2 sidebars, Declan, in this voting today is that here in Dublin, Pride of Place might very well go to 104-year-old Bridie Dunphy, who cast her vote, and voting on the islands has already ended, so the votes can be brought back to the mainland in time. Declan, tonight Ireland awaits.
Kevin, thank you very much. Coverage across the weekend here on BBC News NI. Now, do you remember the first book that ever really captured your imagination? Well, all week to celebrate Book Week NI, we've been celebrating the magic of the written word and its ability to transport us into other worlds. Julie McCulloch asked 10-year-olds at Cairns Hill Integrated Primary what their favourite book is and why.
Page 495. My name is James, I am 10 and my favourite book is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. It's the 6th book and I think it's the best one. One of the main characters dies and Harry Potter gets turned on by the wizarding world.
Pebbles dislodged and tumbled over the edge and clattered to their death on the rocks below. It's about a little girl called April and she gets a letter saying that she's going to go to Bear Island and she makes friends with a bear and they become best friends and it's really cool.
My favourite book is Alex Rider, Eagle Strike. He made his decision, swept up the gun, aimed and fired. It's all about spies and crime and Alex has to try stop them and there's lots of fun and danger and stuff in it. The Black Widow disintegrated instantly, blown apart by the force of the shot.
My name is Inishri and I'm 10 and Hetty Feather is my favourite book. We can't go to the circus, Hetty, said Gideon. It's not within close proximity. It couldn't possibly be further away. If for heaven's sake, who cares, I said gaily. But it's nearly 1 o'clock. We have to be back at Marquee number 10. It's honestly really adventurous. It's all about her, so that's why I like it.
High over the sea, a streak of iridescent light flashes beneath the curve of the moon and is gone again in moments.
My favourite book is The Colour of Hope. It's about a girl called Hope, who's the only thing in the world who has colour. I wish for someone to bring colour back. Then he opens his eyes, shuts the window and climbs back into bed. He falls asleep without giving his wish another thought. He has no clue that he has just changed the world and the fate of one person in particular, forever.
Thanks to all of them for speaking to us. Right, no time to spare. A busy night ahead. Stephen, in international football.
Yes, there is indeed, Declan. Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland's women's teams are both in action tonight. Northern Ireland trying to secure promotion to the top tier of the European competition for the first time. They take on Iceland in the first of a two-legged promotion-relegation playoff game. It takes place at the Ballymena Showgrounds and is live on the BBC iPlayer straight after this programme. Northern Ireland then travel to Reykjavik for the return fixture on Tuesday. Nicola McCarthy reports.
It's the first competitive game for Tanya Oxtoby's side in 5 months, but the manager has every faith her players are ready.
It's exciting. It's great to have the group back together and, we've only had 3 sessions, so we've got to try and get everything in that we need, that's important, to make sure the players feel really, really prepared and hopefully we're in a good space.
Captain Simone McGill's absence through injury is a huge blow, but some seasoned internationals have stepped in, including veteran defender Sarah McFadden.
Yeah, it's great to have her back. Her experience, over 100 caps for her country. She knows what it means to play in these big games, and it's just so nice to have her back in and around the group, I think, for her as well.
This will be a huge test for Northern Ireland as they face an Iceland side ranked 22 places above them in the UEFA rankings.
We know we're going to be up against it. Probably at times in the game we're going to have to be comfortable being uncomfortable within the game. But we've worked on that and we're prepared for it. And just really looking forward to see how we get on, put ourselves in good stead, hopefully going into Tuesday.
2 big games, but the benefits could be huge, including an easier path to qualifying for the 2027 Women's World Cup. But for now, the focus is getting back on the pitch and putting in a good performance in front of home support. Nicola McCarthy, BBC Newsline.
And the Republic of Ireland's women are in a similar position. They face Belgium at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin this evening and feel promotion to League A would only improve the squad.
Everyone wants to be playing in League A. The competition's better, bigger teams, more spotlight. But then also I think it helps a lot with World Cup playoffs and in terms of what seed we can get. So I think it's quite important that, we go into these 2 games wanting a win and wanting to get into League A, even though it's going to be harder for us. I think ultimately we want to be playing the best teams.
Well, there was gold medal success for Ireland at the Track Cycling World Championships in Chile last night. Paris Olympian Lara Gillespie rode to victory in the elimination race. After 22 riders had lost out, it came down to the final two, and Gillespie managed to outsprint Great Britain's Katie Archibald. It's Ireland's first world title on the track since Martin Irvine from Newtownards took gold in 2013. And finally, it's set to be a very exciting night for local snooker because two players from the same town go head-to-head in the quarter-finals of the Northern Ireland Open. Mark Allen takes on Jordan Brown at the Waterfront Hall, winner to play Judd Trump. So that's the sport. Tomorrow I'm heading to Bishop's Court for Sunflower Trophy racing. Declan, I'm hoping that the weather will be kind for bike fans.
Well, let's try and help you on that front. First of all, look at this. This was sunrise in Cushendall this morning. A sensational photo. Thank you, as ever, to the weather watchers for sending it in. Can you help out, Stephen Watson?
Well, I can bring some dry weather. It almost looks like there's a warm glow off those clouds, Declan, doesn't it? But there won't be much warmth around this weekend. It is going to feel chilly at times. You might find yourself reaching for the winter woolies, particularly the gloves. I was thinking this morning, it's getting to glove weather. We are expecting quite a cold wind circulating around Storm Benjamin. It's brought some heavy showers across parts of Northern Ireland recently. They will thin out this evening and tonight, so there'll be some gaps, and it'll be particularly windy in coastal areas. Now, temperatures inland dropping to about 5 or 6 degrees, but if there's particularly good shelter in County Down, we could maybe see something a little bit lower. So the air is colder tomorrow. It will be quite blustery at times. The wind's strongest around the coast, especially up towards the north coast. Some showers feeding through in that northwesterly wind, but there will be sunny gaps at times too, and there will be more shelter across Armagh and County Down. So hopefully not too wet for the bike race tomorrow. Temperatures may be getting up to 9 or 10 degrees, but a lot of the day will be in single digits. Now, both the showers and the winds will ease tomorrow evening, so hopefully you'll get lucky with more dry conditions if you're heading to a fireworks display. By the end of the night, we start to bring the air in from the Atlantic, and of course the other thing tomorrow night is that the clocks go back an hour. So for some, that might mean an extra hour in bed on Sunday morning. And it's Sunday morning when we'll have most of the wet weather as this weather system comes in from the Atlantic, bringing general cloud and rain for a time. It will start to clear, though, to the southeast later in the day. So many parts of Northern Ireland should be dry later on Sunday and into Sunday evening. So again, if you're heading out, that's the drier part of the day. Next week, half term for many. The weather is a little bit mixed. It's still quite unsettled. It's still changeable, but there will be some dry days at times. Monday and Wednesday at the moment look to be driest, and also temperatures start to pick up a little bit next weekend. So the chilliest day to come will be tomorrow. Wrap up warm.
Thank you very much for that, Cecilia. The latest episode of the BBC NI News podcast, The State of Us, is available now on BBC Sounds. Have a listen over the weekend, maybe during that extra hour in bed. We'll see you back here Monday. Bye-bye.